Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another CW webinar. I'm Vasco, and me and my team are here to bring you the main highlights of the fourth quarter update of the trade price report. For today's presentation, I would like to introduce myself, Vasco Teixeira, a junior business analyst at CW Group and the lead analyst of this report, and my colleague, Wanderson Teixeira, also a junior business analyst at CW Group, both of us being based in Portugal. On today's agenda, we will start with an introduction of our company, what is that we do, and what we have to offer, as well as sharing the main highlights of the new report update. So to start with the introduction of our company, CW Group is present across three different verticals, which are advisory, research, and media. And under the advisory umbrella, CW works with major global consultancies and leading institutions across the globe, including the World Bank and funds on projects. We provide consulting and advisory expertise on diverse product portfolio. And for example, a recent sample of advisory projects provided include a detailed study on circular economy for the MENA and the West Africa regions. And other examples include a complete business process analysis for an online art gallery website. Now, under the research umbrella, CW focuses on global cement demand as well as detailed industry and country reports. We provide historical as well as forecasts for markets in a variety of products, including one of our main products, the TPR, Trade Prices Report, which we are presenting today, and the VFR, which stands for Volume Forecast Report. On top of that, we also provide price assessments for cement, clinker, as well as pet coke and coal. And now moving on to the media umbrella. Here you can find access to a vast database. You can also subscribe to newsletters for topics of interest, including cement, building materials, paper and pulp, pet coke, bulk, and also coal. And we also have some industry-specific meetings, and which we are now holding in person. And as of the 8th and the 9th of December, we held in Mexico the Alternative Fuels and Raw Materials Americas edition, 2021 edition, which is mostly known as AFARM. So now, without further ado, let's dive into today's presentation, the CW's Research fourth quarter update of the Trade Prices Report. This is a quarterly updated report focused on providing a comprehensive quantitative and qualitative analysis on the trade of cementitious products. As always, it is our endeavor to continue expanding our coverage of cement trade prices, especially in the African markets. And the statistical model used in this report is updated twice a year, in the second and in the fourth quarters. Also, this report covers 87% of global trade for these products. Other details regarding individual and corporate subscriptions for this report are available in the link below. In regards to the coverage, although the coverage for most regions is comprehensive in the sense that at least one or more factors are tracked, our major focus is to increase coverage in major African markets, hampered by the lack of consistent official data sources. So now to start off, we are going to present the Global Economic Review of 2021. So to begin, after a sharp contraction in 2020, the global economy, according to the IMF's October update, was projected to grow 5.9% in 2021, which is 0.1% lower than the IMF's July update. And in this last update, China and India were expected to see an extraordinary recovery of 8.5 and 9.5% respectively. The downward revision of the last update reflects a downgrade for both advanced and developing economies due to supply disruptions and the worsening of the pandemic dynamics. Furthermore, the rapid spread of Delta and now the Omicron variants, as well as the threat of new variants, have increased uncertainty about how quickly the pandemic can be overcome. On the other hand, Morgan Stanley had a more optimistic view for 2021, with global GDP reaching 6.1%, according to their November report, and in 2022 reaching 4.7%, attributed to the surge of global inflation coming from the recovery from the pandemic, supply chain disruptions, and labor shortages, leading to increased oil prices and raw material prices. And lastly, according to the OECD, this institution expects global economy to see a growth of 5.6% in 2021. And according to their last report released in December, there is a strong economic recovery underway, even though it remains too uneven, with some countries still struggling to recover from the effects of the pandemic. Also, there are imbalances across industries, with sectors dependent on interpersonal contexts, such as the travel market, the tourism, and the leisure, continuing to suffer, while demand for consumer goods has been strong, particularly in the United States. The economic recovery for emerging economies continues to be challenging, with many of them, including Brazil and Indonesia, facing high debt levels. And lastly, it is important to note that the impact of the Omicron variant on the global growth prospects is expected to only be realized in the first quarter of next year. In terms of the Baltic Exchange's main sea freight index, which tracks rates for ships carrying dry bulk commodities, settled at 2,665 points as of December 15, which is the lowest level in 3 weeks. This was led by the Cape-size vessel segment, which recorded its biggest daily percentage decline in over a year and a half of 17.4%, landing at the 3,272 points. Freight rates have increased since the beginning of the year, attributed to the supply chain issues, including rising raw material prices and port congestions, especially from Asia to West Coast of the United States, and shortage of truck drivers to haul containers to and from customer sites. In the short term, the dry bulk market is expected to face a downward trend, moving on a softer note ahead of the holidays, which cargo inquiry slowing down, approaching the typically slow first quarter. This is also driven by China's slowing down for the Chinese New Year holidays. Added to this, China's iron ore demand has been declining, as well as construction activities negatively impacting freight rates. To give you an example, the Panamax index declined to 2,744 points, which is the lowest level in 2 weeks. And to put this into perspective, the Panamax index was at 2,930 in the beginning of November. Now, I would like to pass the presentation to my colleague, Wanderson Teixeira, and I would like to thank you once again for your time and your attention.
Thank you, Vasco. Welcome again, everybody. Now, I will be providing some insights on the current market situation, but of course, the report includes a much more detailed analysis on what is happening and what it is to be expected in the next quarter for both ex-works and retail prices. So, to begin with, ex-works prices in the fourth quarter of 2021 are expected to see variations across regions, with China and Sub-Saharan Africa being the regions with the biggest price increases in the quarter. The Chinese cement prices reached their lower point in mid to late July due to rainfall and constraints of downstream construction. However, since the beginning of August, prices have been increasing sharply, with an average price of cement seeing a rise of more than 50% in October. As a consequence of that, on a quarterly basis, ex-works prices are estimated to see an impressive growth of more than 30% in the fourth quarter of this year. Meanwhile, in Sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria ex-works prices are expected to witness an increase of more than 2% quarter on quarter. This is mostly due to prices increase in the construction materials, as in October there was a rise of 10% compared year on year on its price index. For cement prices index alone, there was an increase of 2.1% in the same period. Now, when we talk about South America, we expect ex-works prices to see a small increase. This is going to be driven mostly by prices increasing in Argentina and Colombia. The Argentinian construction sector in October alone saw a rise of 8.3% on an annual basis, while month-on-month increased by 2.3%. Meanwhile, in Colombia, building permits increased 9.7% from January to August, and cement consumption by 15.9% year-on-year in September. In Brazil's case, ex-works prices are expected to continue to increase, however, at a slower pace. Even though the construction sector is still seeing positive performance since the beginning of the year, there has been a downward trend due to high unemployment rates and rising inflation. On the other hand, on a negative scenario, South Asia ex-works prices are expected to see a decline in this quarter, and this is mostly due to prices decline in India. Indian prices are expected to see a decrease of almost 1% in this quarter, and this is going to be mostly led by the south part of the country. In this slide, we present you the cement ex-works price variation on a yearly basis for the fourth quarter of the year. Year-on-year ex-works prices variation are expected to range from a decrease of around 6% in the Middle East to an increase of more than 10% in the Mediterranean basin. In ex-works, prices for China, after they have seen a decline on a yearly basis in the third quarter, which was caused by slower infrastructure development in some regions, increased government restrictions on real estate developments, poor mid-year weather, and high input prices, such as for steel. The prices are expected to see a robust recovery, increasing at a fast rate since mid-September. For the short term, however, ex-works prices are expected to enter a downward trend, mostly due to lower demand that is going to be caused by the winter and holiday seasons. Now, when we move on to Europe, in the UK, cement ex-works prices are estimated to have a yearly increase of more than 2%, driven mostly due to commercial buildings and infrastructure works. And in the case of the US, in the fourth quarter of 2021, ex-works prices for cement are forecast to see an increase of 3% year-on-year. Just to give you a little example, in October alone, the value of construction put in place in the United States increased by 0.2% month on month. On a yearly basis, there was a rise of 8.6%. And also added to this, the number of building permits increased by almost 4% year on year, both year on year actually and month on month in October alone. Now, in order to better understand trade dynamics, prices, and before we actually jump into the trade study, I want to start by providing you some country level insights when it comes to cement demand. In Morocco, cement demand increased year to date by 15.4% in November, showing a downward trend from the 15.8% growth in the previous month. Also, other markets that are showing growth include Peru, Brazil, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia. Peru sales showed a robust growth of 51% from January to October when compared to the same period last year. Brazil, meanwhile, has seen cement sales increase by 7% year to date in November to reach almost 60 million tons. With the northeast region of the country registering a good performance due to the emergency aid delivered by the government, according to the National Union of Cement Industry. Now, when we move on to Saudi Arabia, cement sales in November also had an increase of around 1% year to date. However, in November alone, sales started to see a decline of almost 5% year on year to reach 4.7 million tons. On a negative trend, as you can see in this slide, Japan cement sales declined almost 4% in October year to date to reach 31 million tons, and during the month there was a decline of almost 7% year on year. To provide a context of the global market scenario, in this slide we are presenting a volume analysis of trade of cementitious products in the third quarter of 2021. Globally, gray cement volumes decreased 2% quarter on quarter, while increasing more than 12% year on year. Med Basin and Asia Pacific Japan were the regions that reported the biggest export volumes during the quarter, and Turkey remains the largest exporter of gray, white cement, and clinker in the same period. Clinker volumes globally saw a decline of 4% quarter on quarter, with almost 30% of its exports being delivered to the Ivory Coast and Ghana during the third quarter of the year. And in terms of slag, Japan remained the biggest slag exporter with a share of more than 42% of the total exports, followed by India and Malaysia. Now, when we talk about FOB average prices during the third quarter, Sub-Saharan Africa was the region with the biggest price drop of almost 6% quarter on quarter, reaching around $76 per ton, while in the Med Basin prices increased around 4%. The Asia Pacific Japan FOB cement prices decreased slightly more than 6%, and the region accounted for 30% of the global traded volume during the quarter. In the third quarter of 2021, gray cement prices are expected to witness an increase compared to the second quarter, while clinker prices are estimated to see a slight decline of 0.1% in the same period. And at last, the Med Basin and Asia Pacific Japan are likely to continue to be the top major exporting regions of gray cement during the quarter. In this next slide, we also provide an overview of gray cement FOB price change between our estimation prices for the fourth quarter 2021 and our forecast for next year in the first quarter 2022. While the Asia Pacific Japan and Eastern Europe prices are forecast to remain stable, Middle East prices are expected to see a small decline of 1%. In South America, prices are estimated to reach more than $77 per ton, and in Sub-Saharan Africa, FOB prices are set to reach $70 per ton in the first quarter of 2022. All of the other regions are likely to see a small increase in FOB prices. Just to give you a little bit of an idea, Scandinavian Baltic is forecast to see a price increase of 1% in the first quarter of 2021, being followed by Western Europe with an increase of 0.7% in the same period. Now, I would like to end our webinar with the closing remarks of our report. Please note that we focus on the highlights of this update, and you can find a much more detailed analysis in the report. Cement prices are expected to increase in the fourth quarter, while prices are estimated to see a slight decline. Turkey remained the largest exporter of gray and white and clinker, while Japan remained the largest exporter of slag. In the fourth quarter of 2021, on a year basis, export prices are expected to see an increase across almost all markets, with Eastern Europe and CIS witnessing the biggest increase among all. And last, the CW price index for gray cement in the Sub-Saharan Africa and Scandinavian Baltics is expected to see the highest increase, while declining in the Middle East. To finalize the webinar, I would like to thank you all for your time and attention. Please do not hesitate to contact us so we can help you. Have a happy holidays, and we'll see you in our next webinar.